Okay, we're ready. Roll call.
Commissioner Hughes is absent. Commissioner Mosier?
Here.
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner James?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Okay, thank you. Want everybody to remember Lamar. We're not sure if he had surgery today or not. Maybe so. So let's remember him in our prayers and thoughts. He's going through a rough time right now, so let's keep him in mind. The minutes were in your packet. Is there a motion to accept and approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
Motion is made to second. In discussion. If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion does carry. Recorder now has a report on July distributions. Jessica?
Page 1 in the general fund, we purchased a fire vehicle from Jackie Jones, $24,999. Health insurance for employee and employer portion, $58,849.19 through Cigna. We did some administrative work on grants through East Tennessee Development District, and their portion for administration on 2 different grants was $10,981.17, which will be reimbursed through the grants. $5,100 to Hugh Myers was purchases for landscaping upgrades. $2,400 to Hyper Reach, that is our annual contract, and again, we have that on the September workshop for further review. $2,000 to Imagination Library, that's the annual budget appropriation to that organization. $59,703.17 to Local Government Corporation, that's the annual networking costs and computer maintenance. That also includes software. $61,769.50 paving to Rogers Group. $95,402 to Jackie Jones. Those were for purchases for the police department vehicles, and those were funded by grant. Also Truckers Lighthouse Police and Fire, $17,480.03. Again, that was for police to outfit those vehicles, and that was funded in part by the grant. Page 2, $13,500 pyro shows. This was the payment for fireworks last year out of the 4th of July fund. $246,614.89. A CD transfer to Capstar, where we cashed out the CD that we talked about in the last workshop and made that transfer into LGIP. $16,421.70 to Sweetwater Board of Education. That was the annual amount of mixed drink tax that was received in last fiscal year that we don't get until July, so we can't tell them how much we owe them until after we get that payment in July. So that was actually a June expenditure set up as an account payable, and then we actually paid it in July. That's it for the general fund. State Street Aid, we made a bulk purchase of salt for weather later in the year, $3,813.26 to replenish that stock. The drug fund didn't have anything significant. Tourism fund, we made 3 annual payments. Placer Labs, $13,650 for that data access. Chris Littleton's an annual design fee, $1,200. He does all of our logos and any kind of design work that we need throughout the year. Middle East Tennessee Tourism Council, that's a membership fee of $150, also an annual amount. The library report is in there. The law enforcement agency account just had some interest to account for. And then in Fund 132, solid waste collection, you'll recall that we had a discussion about this in the last workshop with the fiscal year-end report, $25,641.08. That amount was incorrectly posted as a June check, and it should have been the July check. So basically, we did not end up needing the amendment that we approved last month, and that check just needed to be reposted as a July expenditure instead of as in June. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Motion is made and second. Any discussions? Any questions? If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion does carry. We have no one registered for the public comment period. On the public hearing, we have a liquor store application for Sweetwater Wine and Spirits. Is anyone present to make comment on the application for certificate of compliance for Sweetwater Wine and Spirits LLC to be located at 118 West Moore Street? Now we have the application to review for Sweetwater Wine and Spirits. Chief Byram, do you have a background background check and,
Yes, sir, we met as a committee, and, we did the TBI background check, and it didn't show no claims.
okay. Is there a motion regarding this application? To approve the application?
Move to approve the application for Sweetwater Wine and Spirits LLC.
Second.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
I have a comment or a question to start with. Were the suggestions that I made about the deficiencies, were those cured? Okay.
There were several places on the application where they had marked not applicable, and John said the more appropriate response would have been none, so we had them fix all those on the original application.
And there was no affidavit of publication, but there were tear sheets for all three publications,
Yeah.
so that all of these were just technical things.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Congratulations, we have the owners here. That be going soon?
We got the city, county, now we have the state.
Okay, all right,
Hopefully soon.
okay. In old business, we have appointments for the Tree Board and Building Codes Board of Review. Are either of these applications ready to be voted on, or do we need to postpone it to a later date?
I know we've got one for, building codes review.
Spoke with tree board today, they still don't have anyone, they're gonna meet again, next week, to discuss possible names, but they don't have an appointment yet. Tree board does not, but building code board of review, there is a local contractor that is willing to do that. We will nominate Van Watson Construction.
Okay, do we need to vote on him or just appoint him?
I'll make a motion, for appointing Van Watson to help out with building codes and review. We've worked with him quite a bit, and he works here in Sweetwater quite a bit, done several houses and commercial
Yeah.
as well.
I like Van. I'll second that.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Van's got the job. Just a reminder, the SUB joint meeting is September 12th at 6 p.m. over at the Utility Board. It's always informative, about a little over hour meeting, and it's always a good meeting, so if you can, well, be there. In new business, we have received 3 bids on the FEMA equipment grant fire hoses. We will open the bids now. The fire department has requested we table the award until they can view demonstrations on the equipment. The first bid is from Alert Equipment Sales LLC. The specifications are, have you seen do you know the specifications? Okay, so they're approved by you. Okay, I'm not gonna go into all of that because there's something we probably wouldn't know what we're talking about anyway. So with the spinning teeth and so forth, the total bid, this quote is valid for 30 days. $24,388.60. Second bid is from Tennessee Fire Equipment out of Chattanooga. The Alert Equipment sales, they're out of Rockford, Tennessee. Tennessee Fire Equipment and Supply. The total bid, basically the same thing, is $29,855. $29,855. Third bid is from Safe Industries from Easley, South Carolina. They have 4 different bids here with a lot of specifications. First bid, $28,995. So they're actually bidding 4 times on 4 different specifications. Second bid is $27,315. Third bid is $20,195. The fourth bid is $18,635. And they set some specifications with it. You want to table this till you look at the bids and come back maybe in a call meeting for the workshop? Is everybody okay with that? Or we can wait till next month, either one.
I got one last company on a demo, bring stuff that's already had. They're supposed to be here this week, they're gonna cancel on me once, so we'll just put it off to next month's time.
Okay, you and Alan want to look these over? Okay.
Just get Jessica, we'll get them.
Jessica. The resolution regarding streets in the Scruggs, Jones, and McCaslin subdivision is on for action. We've talked about this. Is there a motion to approve the resolution regarding the Scruggs, Jones, and McLean subdivision?
John, can you give us a recap again? Please.
This subdivision was never actually a subdivision in the planning commission terms. It was created by just a survey plat that was for and advertised as for an auction of those lots. It was never, well, it was recorded. And since then, a few of the lots in that have been identified as tracts or lots in that plat. But this was long before it would have had to have been approved in a way that the streets would have been dedicated to the city. So there was never any dedication of the streets. There's never any acceptance by ordinance of the streets. However, streets can be accepted by the city in 2 ways. One is formally by ordinance. The other is just by usage. And the city has maintained a number of those streets for a long time. And what this resolution does is makes clear that we've never accepted all of those streets, particularly the alleys, and sets out 4 different ones of those streets that we have accepted by usage, and makes those clear. If there's a reason not to take action on it now, it's probably that going back to when 1947 and 1949, before we were a home rule city and had to have the legislature's approval of anything we wanted to do in the city, we can't find where this part of the city was ever annexed, that it even is part of the city. There's no doubt about it based on the maps and the practice and maintenance and everything that's been done in taxes have been collected. There's not really any doubt about it. But without knowing when it was actually annexed, we don't know what services or what conditions may have been placed on the annexation. Because this plat predates whatever the annexation is. This plat predates that by maybe a couple of decades. And as a practical matter, I don't have any doubt that was annexed somehow, sometime. And I think it's extremely unlikely that in the course of annexation that we would have taken on any other obligations than what we've already been fulfilling by maintenance of the streets. But yet there's that unknown element there that we've not been able to run down. So
This dates back, according to this, whereas a plat was recorded on July 22nd or 23rd, 1924.
And
It goes back a little over 100 years.
I don't mean to take too much of your time, but
no,
in 1947 there was a really big controversy in that the legislator for Sweetwater and the state senator for the Senate district introduced sort of an omnibus bill in the House and the Senate that raised the compensation for the commissioners and the mayor and the recorder and required a whole bunch of street requirements, and also apparently, although we've not seen the actual bills themselves, set the city limits of the city, and in doing so dramatically increased the responsibilities and obligations that the city would have had, to the point that there seemed to be a consensus that it would have bankrupted, that there's no way that we'd had a sufficient income to have met all those obligations. And so the city commission and the county commissioners and everybody got up in arms and wrote to the governor and the legislators and just tried to keep it from happening. And apparently they were successful, because in 1949, when the acts actually took effect, they didn't include all of that stuff. There's nothing in them about the city limits. But we don't know what the city limits were in 1947. We know somewhere from the Sanborn maps that this area was annexed sometime.
In 1930, it was not inside the city limits on the Sanborn map. In 1947, it was inside the city limits on a zoning map. So sometime between 1930 and 1947, this got annexed.
And
Both of us have read through the minutes and cannot, and at that time, we didn't operate like we do now. We didn't have a planning commission yet. Annexations were not done by ordinance, so they weren't in a separate book where you just flip through and look at annexations. This is just in a black hole of information that I'm not gonna, both of us have looked through all 4 minute books that period covers. It's all in handwritten, faded pencil, so I'm not gonna say we couldn't have missed something, but I can't find, the only thing I could find where any of those names were mentioned was about someone being mad over chickens. So.
And you'll not be surprised at all that the local legislation in the legislature in 1949, as well as the minutes of many of these meetings, were about the sale of beer inside the city limits.
That's all they cared about.
Not a lot's changed, but
And also, God bless Charlotte Starnes, because that woman knew how to index a minute book, and everything from the moment Charlotte took over as recorder forward is indexed very well and clearly, and you can find these things quickly. Everything before Charlotte,
not so much.
it is hand reading, old penciled cursive, and it's very time consuming. So we say all that to say, we we cannot tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that the city never made any obligations on these streets when it was annexed between 1930 and 1947. But we can tell you the city has only ever maintained Patton, Lincoln, and West Streets, the ones that John names in here. So we feel comfortable saying, we're telling everybody so that some reporter in the future can go back and find this easily, that we are not taking possession of those alleys, that they're not city alleys, that this was platted out and subdivided at least a decade before it was ever annexed. So the city didn't plat it out and subdivide it, some private developer did. And I'm not gonna say I am gonna kinda keep looking through those minute books to see if I can find where this is, just out of curiosity now. But the process was much different then than it is now when we have a planning commission and a city board that would both have to take action on that, so.
Jessica, who does it actually belong to?
Well, the lots have been sold off through the years, so there's multiple property owners. It's no longer a developer that owns this one whole lot, it's multiple property owners. The reason this even came up is because we had a tree fall on one of the fences. Well, the tree was planted in the alley that is not actually ours, but because the tree fell on a single widowed woman, we went down there and cut up the tree and hauled it off. But we're kind of making clear that we're not maintaining those alleys. They are never, as far as we can tell, have never been adopted as city streets. We've never paved them. We have no intention to pave them. That's
And
kinda
they are
what we're
deeded to a
saying.
private owner, correct?
Well,
No.
the descriptions in the deed
Unmaintained.
are just the lot, which of course leaves the alley and the alleys not unowned by anybody. But the owners of the property on both sides of all of those alleys have an easement. They have a right of way across it.
John, in your resolution on the map you gave us before, you indicated the ones that were saying we have probably adopted by implication or
Yes.
usage.
David and I drove all of those.
Okay, the other ones on the platted
Right.
surface that we don't, are any of those actually open and being used for anything? Or are they just drawn in and
No,
grass?
yeah,
Okay,
just grass.
all right.
Just-
And thank you for looking. I was the burr in the saddle that asked, did we
So-
do anything at the time we annexed it to say, well, we'll take care of this?
So.
But apparently not.
By this resolution, we're saying we're not responsible for any of the streets except for these 5,
In that
Correct.
entire area.
except the rest of them.
I'm assuming the rest is unmaintained alleys. Is that?
Yes.
According to the plat.
Or, yeah, I mean, I think some of it's actually.
We had one on,
unmaintained.
at 708 West Morris.
Yeah.
I grappled it.
Also, just as a bit of history,
The city did
the
not.
city attorney at the time had just resigned, and then he became the state legislator that we were trying to get this change through, so it was not a friendly changeover, I don't think, so that was interesting.
The
too.
recorder at the time, last name was Engelman. These are all names
Engelman
of
Park.
people.
Yeah.
JD?
Yep.
Okay, what do we want to do on it? Want to vote on it? Everybody ready to vote on it now?
I will move adoption of the resolution as presented by council.
Second.
Any more discussion on it?
What will become of they just remain nobody's property?
Well, sometime.
Well-
Somebody may want to build on it, and they'll apply for a construction loan, and they'll send it to the title company, and the title company will point out that these easements aren't open, and they'll end up either agreeing with their neighbor on the other side of the alley that they
Split it.
split it equally,
Yeah.
or they'll have a very, very small lawsuit for the court to say who owns what.
But basically, the city, it's an easement, more or less.
Right, it's just an easement.
Gotcha.
That is, I mean,
And I did check city street deeds. We have a couple of files that have paper copies of street deeds. We did not have any of these streets actually formally deeded to the city either, so I can say that.
total hypothetical question. if the city had need for a street,
Yeah.
we could develop it under this, or is there another
We-
measure? Based on the-
We'd have to condemn it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd have to pay for it.
What this effectively does is we're saying, hey, these four we've paved,
Right.
and we're gonna take care of. The rest of them, we don't have any interest in.
Yeah.
Now, as private landowners, they may all can fight and fuss about who's gonna use what and how much it costs, and like John said, go file a lawsuit and have a judge say this half's yours, that half's yours. But, otherwise, they're just there on a plat.
And if one of the property owners puts their own driveway on it, they have a right to do that, but we don't maintain it.
We're not
As
wanting to
between
pay that way.
themselves.
Like the gravel drive that we did.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. Thank you very much. That's gonna do it for today. Anything else come before the,
Well, I was looking, we put this bid off till our October meeting. I noticed one of the bids said
Good
it's
for
only good
30
for
days,
30
30 days.
days. That'll be past 30 days. Is that an issue, you think, John? Okay, all right, that's
Yeah.
all.
okay. Anything else? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you for being here.
I've got to go time to ball changing my shorts for the volleyball game.